Hi, welcome back to Spring CS170. We're continuing on with the spreadsheet topic for this week for Excel. So some of the stuff we've kind of covered a bit in other lectures or other videos. I'm just gonna kind of go through a little bit more of these, see if can shed some more light on them. We'll go from there. You have obviously the second exam coming up. Let me know if there's some particular topics that you would like me to post up or refresh yeah, to study for the exam. Just let me know and I'll cut some more videos for those. And we'll go from there. And, you know, same thing for the Excel stuff too. I went through a lot of the functions earlier in the lectures, but if there's some stuff that you still want me to cover more of, I'll see if I can post up some more videos on those. Okay. So here we are on the functions. You have like the JavaScript equivalent here, right? So here's the idea. You have the function name and then you have the arguments, right? So you pass in the arguments into that, right? So they have the example. You remember we did the convert Celsius to Fahrenheit and you input the temperature, presumably in Celsius. Here in Excel, the analogy, you have a function name. Then within that, you pass in the various arguments, right? And, you know, I kind of find it pretty useful with Excel where you type in the name of the function and it automatically kind of pops up some helpful hints on like what it wants to input for it. So in prior lectures, you remember we did sum and round. Now it's basically your time. So just we'll do that very quickly here. Equals now. So you can see here it says returns the current date and time formatted as date time. So let's click on that and close it off. And there you go. So you have it like this, but let's see what happens if you want to do some formatting on it. So let me see here. Okay, so you did that. Let's say I don't really care about the date and I just set it to be the time. Do this long date. Let's see if there's a here. Okay. So let's see here, date, the time. This looks like a good one here. We'll just go with that. All right. So you can have something like that. It just kind of shows you whatever the current time is. Okay. Let's see here. So I think you probably remember from earlier lectures, we had the formulas tab. So let me go over here. So you can see all the formulas. Oops, I close it. Yeah, here we go. So here's all the different things that you can use with the formula. Now let's just look at the recently used ones. So we did a sum if, we had a PMT, we had the if statement. So let's just stick a couple of things in here. So you had the item, let's say C, F, and the price is that for now. Format this into a dollar, and let's put in a quantity. Something like that. And let's see what happens if we want to do some formulas. Okay, so you can see what happens here. So before, when I did the equals, let's say in this case, if, then it would open up like those little hints there, and then you would kind of type it in. Here, this is almost kind of a little bit more of like a fuller explanation of like what it's going to do, right? So you remember, and I'll show you after I get off of this, right? So you can see here's the logical test, the value of it's true and the value of it's false, okay? So it's kind of very helpful if you're not used to using these functions or you haven't used it too much and you just forget the stuff that goes in there, okay? That you can kind of set it to whatever. So let's say, oops, what did I do here? Say we want to check if this price is greater than 1. Okay. And what do we want to do if it's true? I guess if it's true, we can say if it's not, then it's so you can see what happened there, right? So it basically filled in like what we did with the if statement from the prior lectures, where I would do the, let's say, equals if, and then you would see this, right? The logical test, if value true, if value false, right? It's just kind of more of a full-fledged help or understanding of like what those formulas are expecting as input, okay? So up to you if you want to do it or not. And you saw what I just did there, right? I just kind of clicked on the bottom right and dragged it down. Alternatively, I could have done a copy and then I could have pasted it down like that. Same thing, right? Multiple ways to do the same thing, right? So this is basically the formulas. Again, I kind of suggest you play around with these different formulas and just fill it in just like what I just did for the if statement, okay? Like I said, it's pretty helpful, right? It tells you all these different information, tells you it's looking for numbers or whatever. And you just kind of select the cells and then it'll fill it in, okay? So you remember the show formulas? We did that with the control tilde, but you can also click on this to show the formulas. So when you did the control tilde, this is just an example here that we're showing in the PowerPoint. You can see all of the different formulas that are showing up here. Okay, let me come back to here. I'll do a control tilde here. Control tilde, and you can see all the formulas here. So, and then I can escape back out like so. All right, so we just covered the if function. Same type of thing here. It's basically rehashing what I just talked about. And this is an example, right? Pretty much what I just kind of did here. Maybe just the column order was different. So here's like whatever the item is, what's the quantity, the retail price. In this case, they also have a category, right? And they also have this thing up here saying reorder level, right? So if you hit that number, that means it's time to get more of what that, whatever that item is. So notice this, right? The $E, $12, you remember what that is, right? So we were talking about the relative and absolute reference, right? So in this case, you put the dollar in front of the E and a $12. That makes it so the formula, we can copy it all the way down, but you can see here, it's always going to remain constant looking at the E12. right? So like I said, this absolute and relative cell reference is a really important thing to remember when you're using Excel, especially if you're kind of doing like a whole bunch of formulas, copy pasting those formulas all over the place. If you're not careful with this, you're going to get very unexpected behavior. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to cut it off there. So this concludes all of the lectures for this week with respect to introduction to Excel. So all the different functions. So let me just come back up here just to rehash, right? You can see all these different things. I encourage you to try some of these on your own, right? I didn't cover every single function on here, but you can try it on your own. In fact, let me say this, right, from a extra credit standpoint, if you guys want to try it. So I know we didn't cover mod and we didn't cover the power function. Just come up with some dummy numbers on an Excel sheet and just show me the formula using the mod and power, right? So remember what I said about showing the formula, hit the control tilde to show your functions that you're doing. So you can show me a screenshot of you applying these functions here, okay? And within that, you can also show me a couple of things demonstrating absolute and relative cell reference, right? So just let me come back to this point here. Remember this E12, that's absolute cell reference, right? And note what they did, right? Here's the E12, the reorder level. And that's what they're using as a constant to drive the comparison to all of these different line items to indicate you want to do a reorder, okay? So try and do that, demonstrate something like that to tell me that you understand the difference between a relative and absolute cell reference, okay? And then your function is mod and power to try and do that. We have the if error, all of these different things. I'm going to be covering those in future lectures, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you want to try it on your own, that's fine. But I will be covering these in future lectures. And then these type of things, the sum if, average if, count if, I think they're kind of self-explanatory, but I'll cover some examples with those also. These will be part of your assignment. So I'm probably going to pick that up as demonstration videos for next week. But if you feel up to it, you can like do the equals and type this in and see if you can apply it, right? Okay, that's it for today, and enjoy the rest of your week.